And we're live. Hey, Nate.
Hey, dear friend, how are you?
I am great. Welcome, everyone, to the Vintage Dish. And I have my special guest, Nate, with My Vintages 1976. And I am super excited to get to know him on an even deeper level today. And just to let you guys know, this episode has been pre recorded. So if we are not responding to you, it's because we're not really here. But I will be here live in the comments to interact with you guys. So I will say hi to you there. So Nate does have a day job, and so we needed to pre-record this. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and I am super excited to hear all about Pyrex, which is something that I am new to, but love and remember from my childhood. And my mom and my grandmother, they all had the Pyrex um, casserole dishes for sure, because casseroles were a big thing back in my day. So I'm excited to talk about lots of stuff with you tonight because or this morning, we are very close in age, which a lot of times either I have much younger friends or much older friends. So we're pretty close there. And so it'll be fun to talk about childhood stuff as well.
Yay.
And I wore my girls' version of the bow tie.
I love it.
So when we're recording this tonight, I have my big hair challenge with Steph from Crazy for Kitsch. So I have pin curled my hair, and then after I am done filming today, I'm going to be pulling all the curls out and trying to see how big I can get my hair for the big 70s do. So excuse my curls, but this is all natural, you guys.
Excuse your curls. No, love your curls.
Thank you. Well, let's start by going all the way back to 1976 and tell us about where you grew up. Are you an only child? Like, tell us about your childhood, share some fun memories and things that you loved, toys you liked playing with. All that stuff is so exciting to me. So take it away, Nate.
Yeah, so I've never been afraid of my age. I'm owning my gray, all that stuff. So when I was coming up with a name for my shop, my vintage is 1976, and so that just kind of left me a child of the 80s, a teenager and college student in the 90s. So it's just, I own it and I love it. Originally, I am from far eastern Kentucky, coal country, the mountains. Dad was a coal miner. Mom was a beautician when I was really young, and then eventually just stayed home with me as I was growing up. I have one older sister. She's 5 years older than I am, which is just enough that we were never into the exact same things, So like, as soon as I was excited about something she was doing, she was over it, or she just wanted to be in her room listening to music when I was ready to play board games and toys and stuff like that. So, but yeah.
That's awesome. So tell me about some of your favorite toys from when you were.
Okay, so my favorite toy, I still have my original Monchichi. I loved him so much. He was with me everywhere. I was a big Smurf kid. And when you were a boy in the early 80s, you kind of chose a path. Were you G.I. Joe or were you He-Man? And I was all about the He-Man. So I had, Castle Grayskull and all of the, all that good stuff. So it was good.
Well, I was big into He-Man because I grew up alongside my cousin Alan, who I'm going to have as a guest later on this year. And we love both boy and girl toys. Both of us did. So he had He-Man and I liked He-Man.
Yeah.
We both were into Star Wars because Star Wars was the big thing. But He-Man is everything. I still have some of my action figures from my childhood. And I need to get them set back up in my case. I'm working on getting my display case back in order, but I'm not quite there yet. I have the first two shelves done, and then I get into all my childhood toy stuff. But
fun.
He-Man was so much fun, and we would like throw all of the action figures in a pile and then take turns choosing our teams or
Your
whatever.
team, yes.
And then we would create forts, whether we're in what we called the playroom. It was always at Grandmama and Granddaddy's house. And I'm from Georgia, you're from Kentucky, so we also have that. And I'll probably start twanging now that I'm hanging out with you here. Um, but we would either build forts with like blankets and stuff in the bunk beds, and it was so much fun, or we would be out in the backyard building forts outside and then trying to take over, each other's fort. And then it was always, oh no, I had a force field. And then somebody would be like, no, I called no force fields. Grandmama, I said no force fields and Amy took my guys anyway. But it was so much fun. And then, of course, Smurfs were a big part of my childhood as well. And I loved Smurf Gray Crunch cereal and Saturday morning cartoons. Was it exciting for you, like when the new season would come out and they would have that little special on that would preview all the latest new cartoons that were coming?
That's
So
right.
much
And they
fun.
used to make a cartoon out of everything, like if Pac-Man was popular, he's
Yes.
getting a Saturday morning cartoon. If some other character was popular, he's getting a Saturday morning cartoon. And I
You
loved it.
literally jumped inside my head with that because I was thinking Pac-Man. And I even have my little Pac-Man PVC figures that are so magical still to me. Pac-Man cereal with the power pellets and the marshmallows. Yum.
The Power Pellets, that's right.
And Six Flags over Georgia. Did you guys have Six Flags over Kentucky?
There was eventually a Six Flags in Louisville, but it was a Kentucky Kingdom at first, and then Six
Okay.
Flags took over, and then it went away. Yeah, so just for a
Yeah.
while.
I think there's a documentary about that right now, actually, about the abandoned theme park thing, and they're about to reopen it again.
There was a little small, and you mentioned Crazy for Kitsch. She's a West Virginia girl, so when she grew up, and so I connected with Steph pretty early on, just like I connected with you. There was this little small theme park just outside of Huntington, West Virginia that we used to go to, and it was called Camden Park. And it seemed huge, when you're a kid. And my sister and I actually went as adults, and you're like, man, this is not as magical or as large as I imagined it was as a kid. But yeah, the amusement park, theme park world was definitely fun.
Yes. Well, I was born in 73, so I have a few years over you, but I was still very much into toys and stuff, probably till I was about 12. I think I got my 12 or 13. I think I got my Rainbow Bright Canopy bedding and everything when I was just about 12, and I still loved it. But my cousin Alan was 3 years younger than me, so I guess he's your age. And he was still very much into wanting to play, and we had the Ewok play set, the Ewok fort, and all the action figures. And it was so sad. I think back on it and I get a little teary because I was at that point where I'm now into music and I was all about the Beatles. And so poor Alan, he wanted to play, and I'm like, well, I'll play with you, but Luke Skywalker and Han Solo are now going to be John Lennon and Paul McCartney, and there's going to be a concert at the Ewok Village. And he's just like, okay. I mean, he was just like, he'll do whatever it takes just to get me to play with him at that point. But back to the Pac-Man. So Pac-Man came out, and I was just almost, too old. I was too tall. And this is when they opened ball baths, and it was called the Pac-Man Play Fort at Six Flags, and ball baths were just becoming a thing. And I was too tall to go into the Pac-Man Play Fort. But the ball bath was like the power pellets.
Yeah.
But my dad let me go. He's like, you just go on in there anyway. And so I have pictures, like really bad Kodak, and camera pictures of me
110, where you'd slide. Yeah.
laying in the ball bath, and I'm not supposed to be in there. And I finally got kicked out, but it was so much fun just to play. But did you have the pizza places like Showbiz Pizza and things like that when you were growing up?
So where I grew up, I mean, this is super small Eastern Kentucky town, like one stop sign, not even a stoplight, you know.
Mhm.
I was in high school before we got our first chain anything, and it was a Burger King that you had to walk inside the convenience store to get to.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So when we used to go to town, you know, like
Mhm.
you pack up and go 45 minutes, the closest town of any size was Pikeville,
Okay.
Kentucky. And that's when we'd go to Pizza Hut or something like that. But as far as like any of the Showbiz or Chuck E. Cheese or anything like that, no, nothing like
Oh
that.
gosh. Well, it was so much fun. We had Showbiz, but we had Chuck E. Cheese, but we also had Sergeant Singer's Pizza Circus. And Sergeant Singer's was a circus, three-ring circus, so there were three stages, but they were dressed in Sergeant Pepper's uniforms.
Wow.
And because my Aunt June raised me on the Beatles, I was like feeling familiar vibes. I didn't realize what it was really until I was 12. And then it was going away.
Yeah.
But so freaking cool. It was a tiger who was the main leader of the band. And I think I want to say he was in John's green satin, but it was so cool. Those places were magical. But I brought a couple things to show you. I sourced these, I think, in 2020, and I couldn't find them this year because I wanted to finally make them. And I don't sew, but thankfully someone did most of the work, and I just have to stuff them with stuffing and sew up the hole. But look what I got.
Love it.
So there will be little, those little pillows.
Oh yeah, I had fabric. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited. So I just found them by chance a couple days ago, and so yeah, I got to get to that. And then I wanted to share also, this is not vintage, but this is my bag.
Oh wow, she is rocking out some glitter hair. I love that.
Right. And it's been on many a concert tour with me, so it's a little ragged out, but love her.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go into now you're in high school days, your first jobs. Like, when did you become passionate about vintage? Is it way back then, or are you still doing other things?
Well, I will say too, high school is pretty typical high school, small town high school. Everybody went to the football games on Friday night. I was high school valedictorian.
Well,
So I was a smart kid, and that was kind of my how to get out of my small Eastern Kentucky town. You know,
mhm.
my dad, as I said, was a coal miner,
That is
and
so
he used to
cool.
come in covered. You'd see his teeth and his eyes, you know, when he'd come in from work, just covered in coal dust. And I can remember being there at the breakfast table and dad saying to me, son, get yourself an education so you don't end up like your old man, you know?
Mhm.
And so that just subconsciously fed my desire to do really well in school. So I did.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and the vintage part, it kind of just came naturally. Like my mom and my grandmother were thrifters. If um, uh, a wide spot in the road and there was a yard sale, we would pull over, you know. So it was definitely, it came by honestly to find beauty in things that weren't necessarily new. And that's okay. You
Mhm.
know, like you can still see and appreciate. And it wasn't long before I just started leaning that way. Like I loved that bright orange, you know, like that perfect late 60s orange, and the avocado green and the yellow and the turquoise, and it just kind of became my world. So I fell in love with it pretty early.
That's awesome. So you are a school teacher?
Not anymore. So that's what when I graduated from college, I went straight into the classroom. I taught English and theater for a long time, uh, not too far from Central Kentucky, and then eventually made my way to living in Louisville. and I lived in Louisville, Kentucky for 10 years. I ran a couple theater departments. I taught arts and humanities. And then I eventually just started working a little bit office as well, in addition to in the classroom. Then I fell in love and made my way to Dallas, Texas in 2014. So now coming up on 8 years ago. And so since I've been here, I've not been in the traditional classroom. I've been a librarian and a high school counselor. And then I recently made the transition to central office. So I work at central office now.
It cut out for a minute. Did you say you were a librarian?
Yeah. So I was
Okay.
I was a middle school librarian, then a high school counselor, and then now I work at central office. Yeah.
Wow. So did you wear your bow ties in the classroom and in the
Yeah.
library?
I can show you plenty of pictures with me in a bow tie. Yeah. I've always kind of leaned to the bow tie. But I had to, well, and I'll say at my school in Louisville, shout out to my principal. I loved him so much. His name, Mr. Allen. We had to wear a tie Monday through Thursday. We didn't have to wear a tie on Friday. So it's like, well, I'm going to own this. So I got the big wide 70s ties. I got the big bow ties. And that's just kind of all how it started. If I've got to wear a tie, I'm going to
You're
wear a
going to wear
tie.
it. Yeah, I love it. Well, I wore my girls' version of the tie here and here. So
Love it.
we can be matchy-matchy.
Woo.
Well, I love that you have had such a rewarding career, enriching the lives of young people and then guiding and counseling them as well. That's just so amazing.
Yeah. And then to do that through the pandemic and now on the other
Mhm.
side of it, and now I'm helping other counselors do the same thing. It's been a journey for sure. This is year 23 in education for me. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That is awesome and amazing. So thank you for all of your good work helping to make humanity a better group of people, I guess. Like,
Right.
you know,
Teenagers, man, you know.
yeah. I mean, God bless you, because teenagers are a whole different league.
Yeah.
Once they become teenagers, I feel like I don't know how to connect with them anymore. I'm good with them up
That's
until
funny.
about
I'm the
12 or
exact
13.
opposite. So my entire career had been at high school. Then I did the 2 years at middle school, and I was like, oh, get me back to my high schoolers.
Well, tell us about your passion for Pyrex. How did you get into Pyrex? Why do you love it so much? And then I want to hear about your new um, web series that you have. So take it away.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So it's a pretty new addiction. Like I said, I have always loved vintage. And it's so funny. You find those pictures of yourself in childhood, and then I'm seeing pictures of myself with Pyrex in the background, and I didn't even remember it consciously, but that it was there in my mom's house, and I didn't even realize it. The reason it kind of came to me recently is we were cleaning out both my parents' and my grandparents' houses right at the same time. So and that's in Kentucky. So it was like I was going and having to make these trips from here in Texas back to Kentucky and helping my sister kind of go through all of this stuff. And we just kept finding more and more Pyrex, and it was these beautiful patterns. And originally I was just like, man, this is so pretty. Man, this is so pretty. We can't just take this to a thrift store. We can't just, do something with it. So I just started taking it and thinking like, okay, this is, I want this, and then started researching and then trying to find value if I was going to sell some of it, because then I was like overwhelmed with how much I had. And then it just kind of steamrolled from there. You start realizing like, okay, not only is there US Pyrex and all of these beautiful patterns, there's international Pyrex. There's Pyrex from England, there's Pyrex from Australia, there's Pyrex from New Zealand. There's Pyrex from Argentina. So, and then there are all the other companies beyond Pyrex. You know, there's Fire King and McKee and Shop Mains and all these other companies as well. So then the beauty kind of just starts multiplying, and you start realizing, like, oh, this would look good with this, and this would, you know, it just starts connecting in this wonderful way. Before you realize it, I have this pretty awesome collection, you know, and I feel like my vintage is 1976, and I enjoy. I don't say that they're mine. I say that I get to be part of their history, you know, because they're older than I am.
Mhm.
So I'm happy to just share their worlds for a little bit. So,
Wow. Well, tell us about your new show that you have on Instagram.
yeah, thank you so much. So I sell through ISN live sales, and I do love Pyrex, and I do, as I thrift and as I go to different antique stores, I was finding bargains, and you can't keep it all. And so then you would find certain patterns and certain things that were too good of a deal to pass up. And then so I would bring it to some of my sales, you know, to ISN live sales. And so as I was doing that, people had so many questions, and there was some miseducation out there. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want them to think that that's right when that's not right. So
Mhm.
then it came to me as kind of, I have this new platform on Instagram, and kind of gaining popularity through the live sales and through my Pyrex displays, that I was like, well, I want to use this opportunity to educate. I'm a teacher, right? That's my
Right.
background. So I decided at the beginning of the year, this year, um, to start kind of a series on Instagram going live. It's called Let's Chat About Pyrex. And so it's the first and third Saturday of each month. And so I've done two so far. I think they've both gone really well. And people are excited about it. And I'm getting lots of questions. And it's awesome. Like, I feel like I'm educating even people who thought they knew, were saying, "Oh wow, I learned something that I didn't know," which was the goal. You know, it's just
Mhm.
to spread the beauty and the love of something vintage that maybe they didn't know as much about as they would like to. And then starting next month in February, I'm going to start having guests. So I've already confirmed my first guest. And so I'll do a little educational piece at the beginning, and then I'll invite my guest in, and then we'll do exactly something very similar to this. Tell us about your collection. Tell us about some of your stories, and how did you get into collecting and all that good stuff. So
That's wonderful. So, do you think that you will cross over into YouTube at all with your show?
that's a great question. This is my YouTube debut. So thank you so much for allowing me and inviting me here onto the Vintage Dish.
Of
Um,
course.
so we'll see what happens. I know very little about YouTube, but starting in
Well, I'm a
September,
newbie.
I knew very little about Instagram. So,
Right, exactly. I'm a newbie, but I will show you everything I have learned so far. And I don't know, maybe you could have two cameras and film your show, do your live on Instagram and then have your StreamYard set up on another device. And then
oh,
you could then take that footage and put it on YouTube. So you could have it,
interesting.
yeah, you could have dual lives at the same time, or you could just record the version for YouTube. Because I know there are a lot of YouTube viewers that have crossed over and will go back and forth, but then there are a lot that aren't comfortable doing Instagram because they have to create a profile and do all that. So I just think it could be something to think about so that you can broaden your audience and reach more people.
Well, and that's the goal. You know, I'm doing this to educate. And so
Right.
if I do see that there is an equally large or larger audience on YouTube who would be open to the idea, I would be more than happy to do that. Absolutely.
It's awesome. Well, I know that I would love to share some little snippets from your shows, because starting next week, I'm going to have introduce segments into the Vintage Dish, which was always my intention, but it was like with YouTube, either you wait until you're completely prepared and ready and have it all planned out, or you just dive in and do it and then let it develop as you go. And I decided I'm just going to dive in and be present here and just go with it. And then it's going to evolve. And so it's about to evolve and explode. So I would love to share some little snippets of your show from time to time and get people excited about it. So I look forward to
Yeah,
that.
and the 2 first episodes are there on my profile. So anybody who checks me out on Instagram, they can go find those first episodes. They're there in my feed.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna link to them and link to your Instagram page as well. So everybody be sure to follow Nate at My Vintage is 1976. And then I think I will be able to put links in to directly to your videos as well. So
Awesome.
I love cross promotion. So when I first met you, you were a buyer and now you have become a seller. So I want to talk about a few things in that regard. First off, what drew you into watching our live sales, and then what made you decide to then become one of us and sell?
Well, that's a funny question because somebody else asked me that too, and I can't remember. I don't know how I happened upon. I'm deep in the Pyrex world, and I have lots of other friends who buy through a wide variety of means, and so there's no doubt that I had some friend who told me that somebody was selling a piece of Pyrex somewhere over on Instagram, and so I found myself over there seeing what kind of pieces and bargains I could get.
That's
So
awesome.
then, just that's how it works. Somebody's selling with another person, then you start following them, and then it becomes a great little network. And I did. I found myself as a buyer and bought a couple wonderful, cute little Kamar foxes from you.
We bonded over the fox thing and connected somehow over foxes. And
That's exactly right.
I don't normally reach out to people and offer things on the sly, but I don't know. I felt like I'm going to just cheat a little and reach out to Nate because I felt a connection with you. So, yeah, the whole foxes brought us together.
That's right. And I remember this is before I knew who Sarah the Traveling Button was. But I remember we were battling over the white Kamar fox. Like that's who I was bidding against,
Oh my gosh.
And then
That's
I ended
big
up
leagues,
winning
Nate.
it. And then that has sent me on a long, how many colors are there? Do I want all the colors? I have to find all the colors.
Right. What is it
Um,
about foxes that attracts you? Why do you like foxes so much?
I just think they're cute. I mean, like I just feel like fox, raccoon, all of those just kind of well, and they read masculine to me too in the grand
Mhm.
scheme of furry little
They have
creature.
fluffy tails and they're mischievous.
That's right. They have ulterior motives perhaps. It's really cute. Um but then just as I kind of was diving in and realizing, like surrounded by the vintage that I have. And I'm like, I could do this. And I love thrifting and I love, connecting with people. And if I'll be honest though, if I didn't have experienced the year before of having to be a counselor on Zoom, leading students, connecting with kids through a different platform than I had ever had to do before, I don't know that I would have felt comfortable making the transition to being a live seller through
Yeah.
Instagram. But because I'd had that experience for the last year through the pandemic, then I felt like, okay, I think I can do this. And so I started, and then it's just been a wonderful ride since September. Yeah, I'm having a great time.
Yeah, the community has really embraced you. And now that I know more about your background, that you have the theater background, you're a teacher, you're great with people, like all of that reads as such a pro on this platform. So, you are such a pro. So I would love for you to share some of your favorite pieces, your special pieces. and tell us about them.
Yeah, it's funny. I was trying to decide where I wanted to set up for this because I have Pyrex in almost every room or some version of Pyrex. And so this is kind of my main display. And I just changed it. I had all my winter blues up. So pretty much the entire cabinet was just of various blue pieces of milk glass. And so I just changed, brought a little color. It is still winter, but I can be dreaming and thinking of spring. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I do have some rare pieces in the world of Pyrex. So there's lots of typical patterns that you'll see. So the pink gooseberry, you'll see that pretty often. It's pink is very popular right now, as is the turquoise. You can go on. To me, if you say something is rare, that means I can't go on eBay and try to find it, but you can find gooseberry if you want it. This little piece is probably my most rare piece. It's called Mod Stars. It's an 043, an oval casserole. They call it in the Pyrex community the Subaru because it mirrors the Subaru pattern. So I think it's really cute. And then another very popular one is the cloverberry that people call it. So very popular. But neither of those are my favorite. My favorite little casserole is this one. It's called the Crazy Quilt, and I am just obsessed with this lid.
Wow.
And this Kelly green, it's just so bright and so vibrant. And then just with this super fun, unique pattern on the top. I just keep coming back to this one. And it's a lot of, which kid is your favorite, and you can't really choose. But I just keep circling back to this cute little casserole. And this is a promotional piece. This was the only thing that Pyrex did with this pattern. There are only 2 pieces in all their collections that they even use this Kelly green color. And this is one of those 2. So
I never knew they had patterns on the lids until I watched the first episode of your show. So I learned so much.
Yeah. So all of I don't want to talk out of turn, but almost, if not all of the standard patterns didn't. But Pyrex did promotional pieces. Sometimes they accented traditional lines. So there would be like the Horizon Blue pattern. They did like a piece that coordinated with that pattern. But then there were one-offs like this one. This is just a completely unique promotional piece that Pyrex put out that people could go and buy for $1.95 to $5.95 and add to their kitchen collection. So
nice. I love it. Kind of reminds me of Sesame Street colors.
Say that again.
It reminds me of Sesame Street colors.
Oh yeah. Well, and I'll say, no matter what your favorite color is, it's definitely it's out and about in the Pyrex world. You can definitely find it. The 2 most popular that people keep circling back to are the turquoise or the pink. Those seem to be the 2 that have skyrocketed in price that people can get a hold of and want to add to their collection. And I get it. They're beautiful, beautiful pieces. A lot of promotional pieces. You can see here the atomic starburst that's on a lot of people's wish lists. And so, and it's a beautiful piece. It has that mid-century, mid-mod, decoration that everybody just kind of loves. So I get it.
Well, I feel so inspired to start a little collection, and I'm thinking like, what would I do with them? But I have all that space between the top of the cabinets and the ceiling, in the kitchen. So I could, start a little Pyrex aesthetic going on there. But what is your advice to someone who's just starting to collect? Like, how can we find, where do we go? How can we find Pyrex reasonably priced, I guess?
Good question. So I have found it in thrift stores. I've found some even hard to find pieces in thrift stores, and I've been very lucky. Right place, right time, or I just happen to be the first guy in the store that day that was looking for it. So I was excited to find some killer pieces in thrift stores. I think most antique malls would have some sort of variety. You're going to find some more common pieces like the primary set, you know, the 4 bowl, different color stack that you see everywhere. But the nice thing too is that you don't have to dive in straight into bowls. You know, they have little refrigerator pieces and little casseroles. So it doesn't have to be, it can be as big or as small of a collection as you want it to be because all their pieces come in different sizes. So that's kind of nice.
I feel like maybe I would just collect eclectically until, I don't know, it kind of takes on its own life and then sell the pieces, like replace them with the ones I really decide I want. I don't know.
That's exactly how I did it.
Personal
When I
knowledge.
first started, because I will say I decided to keep my mom's Horizon Blue Cinderella bowl set, the ones that kind of have the spouts or the handles on the side. And I'm a completist. Now I'm a collector, but I'm also a completist. And a completist is what gets me in trouble is that now when I decided I liked Horizon Blue and it's my favorite US pattern, that I decided that I needed to have every piece in that collection. And so then I collected the entire Horizon Blue collection. But along the way, I was gathering Pyrex. When I saw it, I bought it. When I saw it, I bought it. But then over time, you realize, well, I can't keep everything. And you really do start curating and then selling. In addition to selling online, there's some great things around the country regionally. They call them Pyrex swaps.
Okay.
So just so you know, right. So like I actually run the Facebook Dallas Pyrex swap page. And my friend Donna runs the Tennessee Pyrex swap page. And there's a Missouri and there's a Indiana and there's a, you know, so all over the country, they have Pyrex swaps throughout the year and they advertise and people go and they set up tables and then people come and you trade or you buy or you set up a table and you sell. And so it just kind of, there's a whole little subculture community of us collectors for sure.
So I want to touch on an issue that sometimes it comes up and I want to get your take on it. But how do you feel about like the supposed lead exposure that comes with Pyrex?
Oh, that's not the question I thought you were going to ask.
Okay, well, you'll have to tell me what that one is later.
So yeah, a lot of people have asked that question. I have a very dear friend who went and bought the lead tester kit thing and tested her collection. And I feel very comfortable having my Pyrex. So now I don't bake with it. I don't, do I feel like I would want to add heat and if the paint was very scratched and all that kind of stuff? I don't know that I would feel comfortable, but for me and for now and for what purpose I'm using it for, I think it's okay.
Got it. Good. So what question did you think I was going to ask?
Well, I thought you were going to ask me if I used it or not. You know, that seems to be.
Yeah, I know. I probably should ask that, but I know you've answered that one before. But yeah, I know you're not much of a cooker, although I did see you cooking something in a photograph once. So I know you do cook, but
guilty. And my new answer to the question, do you use Pyrex, is yes, I do. I use it for display and I don't necessarily cook with it. And that may have been what it was originally intended to be used for, but it's beautiful and I can appreciate it for its design. And so I use it, but I use it in a way that brings me joy, just as I'm sure there are plenty of people who have their workhorse Pyrex in the kitchen that they use all the time. And that's great. My mom did that. My mom used her Pyrex. Absolutely. But it's so funny when we were cleaning out the house, you often hear about dishwasher damage in the world of Pyrex. And my mom, whatever you have to remove in the dishwasher to be able to use it was still there. So she always washed her dishes by hand. She never used the dishwasher in any home that she ever lived in, which is funny. So that
Wow.
was just another cabinet where bowls and pans and pots and glasses were
Right,
stored, was inside the dishwasher.
right, right. Well, I know in my family, we had the Pyrex for casseroles, and casseroles were such a big part of my upbringing. And when I first moved to California from Georgia, I was making casseroles as a nanny, living nanny, and the families did not like that because it's even more so now. Like casseroles are just not, the healthy choice, and
Oh
Campbell's
yeah.
soup and all that stuff. But I've gotten away from it, but then every once in a while I like to have my comfort food casserole and I will whip one up. But my favorite casserole is tuna fish casserole made with the cream of mushroom soup and the egg noodles. And my secret part is that I put a lot of shredded cheddar cheese in mine, and it's just delicious. So,
It sounds delicious.
do you have a favorite casserole?
Ooh, I'm a meat eater, so anything I like more of like a stew or something before I would think of a casserole. But I
What about
mean,
shepherd's pie?
I would think right like a shepherd's pie, but like sweet potato casserole for Thanksgiving would probably be my favorite in the category.
Nice.
Yeah.
I know my mom also made one called Western casserole, and it was made with tomato soup, pinto beans, corn, and ground beef. And then apparently you were supposed to put like the Hungry Jack biscuits on the top, but she would say the underside would never get cooked. So she kind of scrapped the biscuit part. But that was a delicious hearty one. And again, I throw cheddar cheese in mine when I do make it because it
When
just
in
makes
doubt, right?
it makes it all better. Makes everything better. Um,
Well, and I have to say, you and your the vintage dish have embraced the Pyrex as
that's
well.
true. I put the Pyrex on for my logo,
Yeah.
but I don't want to be a poser. So I shouldn't be using the Pyrex if I don't know anything about it. So I'm glad that you're inspiring me to actually, be a real Pyrex collector and appreciator. So I just liked it because it was pink. Let's be honest.
A
So
lot of people do.
yeah. Do you have anything else that you would like to show and tell?
Sure. Like a couple little things too that I pulled. This is my latest acquisition. And I'm not going to, there are all kinds of rabbit holes when you collect. The bowls, the casseroles, the refrigerators, all that stuff. But I found myself being a mug guy, and I never thought I was going to be a mug guy. But at first I was buying to resell, and then I'm like, oh, I will keep that one. Oh, well, I have that whole set. I don't want to get rid of that. But I just got this cute little carafe because Pyrex made some very, very cute little carafes as well. They're just so adorable and so iconic.
Wow.
Absolutely adorable patterns. And this is made by Pyrex. But
Oh
I
my
got
goodness.
it because there's another little rabbit hole within the collecting community of Pyrex is the boxes.
Wow, that is nice.
I know the graphics, it's pink and orange, and I just absolutely love the graphic. So
Yes.
I saw it, I had to have it.
I love that.
And then the last group that I wanted to talk about, and I'm just going to shift my camera a little bit, is the Arches casserole. I just kind of created a logo. I'm like, okay, if I'm going to run with this, my vintage is 1976 stuff, then I was working with Kristen from Baskey House Vintage to create my logo. And then we were just coming up with different patterns and casseroles and things. And kind of that epitome of 1970s, the arches and the color combinations. And it's a unique piece too. It was the only ones that they did in that shape.
Mhm.
They're actually designed as mixing bowls.
Okay.
So as opposed to a lot of the casseroles, they have kind of this
Ooh.
rounded bottom, and then they have the flat
That is
sides like it would be a
1976.
mixing bowl.
I love that pattern. Very 70s.
very 70s. And then the other one, the larger one, is the color in reverse. So you can see
Oh,
the
wow.
arches are orange, and then the interior is kind of that avocado olive color. So
I
loved
love
it.
it. Now, when you say mixing bowls, do you just mean like with a little whisk, or can you actually use an electric mixer in these?
So these would be these are designed, and just the same way as a lot of the ones that would come with the standard mixers that you would put in and then kind of click into place. Now,
Mhm.
did these actually come with a mixer? I can't answer that. I don't know. But these are designed as they would be, instead of just mixing bowls, these are bowls for mixers, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah. So it
Yeah.
doesn't like chip the glass or anything. It's safe to do.
Right.
Okay, cool. Well, that is just amazing. And I love, what is that little critter back there? My
Oh,
eye gravitates to this.
he's cute. He's a Lipperin man. He's kind of my front and center. I've had him. I got him when I was cleaning out my mom's house. Just a super cute
Oh,
little red bow tie kitty. He doesn't have his little family with him anymore, so
well, they
he's
grew up and moved on.
he's riding solo. But I just thought he was absolutely adorable. So yeah, I just always kept him kind of front and center in my display. Just
He is perfect.
memories.
And he's a little foxy too. He's
He
got
is a
his
little
little.
foxy. Yes, that's right.
I have one of those that all the paint is gone, and so I'm looking to do a repaint on. But
Oh,
he's
fun.
standing. He's a standing one
Cute.
on all fours. So, well, I would love to speak to you a little bit about core values, and maybe you can share a core value that is important to you in your life and how you implement it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I told you I'm from the country. So a lot of my core values probably come from the country. The same things you would hear in probably a country home today are the same ones that I kind of carry around with me throughout my entire life. And one, when you just introduced that question, the one that immediately came to my mind is I can just hear my dad telling me all the time to not get above my raisin, to it's kind of that same, don't think more of yourself than you should. Because right, you don't know what that person you meet has gone through, is carrying with them, the baggage that they may have, or what they're having to experience in their life. Or even if my paycheck is giving me one thing, then don't forget of who you are and who you were when you were growing up. And like, right, and I don't. I know where I came from. I know that I lived a large part of my upbringing in a single trailer on a hillside, um, and that's just who I am. And so no
Mhm.
matter how educated I am, or what big city I go to, or what lucky thing I own or collect, I know in my heart who I am, where I came from, and I will not get above my raisin.
So stay humble. Is that what,
Absolutely.
is that what you're saying? Okay, got
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. Well, before we get into your marathon sale, because I want to talk about that, I have some gifts for you for being a guest here and for being my friend.
What?
So I made you a couple special little dolls, and here they are.
Amy.
Don't, you're gonna make me cry. So here's Papa Smurf, and I gave him a little bow tie.
Uh,
And
well,
these are 1983. I think they were like bubble bath or soap bottle
oh
heads.
my gosh.
And he's
So I
got
have to tell
blue
you too,
leather.
in
Yeah, go ahead.
addition to loving the Smurfs growing up, my fraternity nickname, I was a Lambda Chi in college. My fraternity nickname was Papa Smurf.
Perfect.
I know. And so of all the Smurf stuff that I buy and sell or whatever, I have every little Papa Smurf I've ever had. So I love that so much. Thank
I'm
you
so,
so much.
I'm so glad because for some reason I decided to choose Papa Smurf instead of just the regular Smurf. So
Ah,
I'm glad. And then here's Smurfette, and she has like a Valentine little, what do you call them? Little doily things
mm-hmm.
with a dress. And
Ah,
she is also 1983 marked on the back here.
ah.
So,
Well, and then she's just going to be you to me, like that's just going to be me and you hanging out where, on
aw,
display when I have them next to each other.
I love it. Well, so yeah, so these I had a lot of fun making these for you, and I hope you will love them. And thank you so much for being my friend and connecting with me and being a guest on my show here today.
Absolutely.
So tell us about this marathon sale that is coming up at the end of the week. And if you can share what shops are participating and your co-host, tell us all about it.
Yeah. So I have a monthly sale with Dakota. His shop is Dakota, same as it never was. And pretty early on, we kind of started our ISN journey around the same time. And we just decided to do a sale together. And then it just kind of clicked that we just hit it off and the chemistry was there. So we just decided to run with it. And so we do a monthly sale the first Tuesday of every month. But then we were just bouncing around some ideas. And then we just decided to host a marathon. And then we were coming up with a theme and what should we do. So it's 2022. So we decided that we were the two and we were going to invite 20 of our closest friend shops to participate in this marathon with us. So it is Saturday, January 29th from noon to midnight
Wow.
Eastern Standard Time. The first hour and the last hour are just going to be Dakota and me. So we'll just be the two of us to start and to finish. And then each hour on the hour, the other 10 hours, we're going to have two guest sellers
Wow.
joining us throughout the marathon. And it's going to be you, woo, and Sarah the Traveling Button, and Junk Drunk Mantiques, and Vintage Treasure Girl, and Skeleton Keys in the Closet, and Vintage Bulldog, and Basky House Vintage, and it keeps going and going and going and going and going. So, but every hour throughout the whole 12 hours, both Dakota from Dakota, same as it never was, and me, my vintage is 1976. We'll be there the whole day.
12 hours, a 12-hour day.
We're ready. We're ready.
That'll be so much fun. I'm so looking forward to it.
Yay.
Well, I will give you guys a little rundown of what's coming up this week. I will be having my weekly sale on Wednesday here on YouTube with Sarah, my co-host for Wicked Good Vintage, and our special guest, Enamour Amy, this week. So looking forward to having twice the handmade goodness between my stuff and hers. It's always a good time. That weekly show is always 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And then my new craft show with Cole Eugene is on Fridays. So this will be our second episode, and we will be crafting together. We invite you guys to join us either trying to create with the same materials that we're using and do the same project along with us, or you can bring whatever project you need to work on so that you have the company and the motivation to do so. And at the end, we will auction off our creations and then do a little mini sale of 5 items each. So a mix of vintage and handmade.
Well, and let me just say, I watched the sale that you two did together, and I already reached out to him. Like, he is such a warm
Yes.
human. Like, I like something about him just really spoke to me. I think he's like just radiates from the inside. Sometimes you just connect, and the chemistry is definitely there between the two of you, and I absolutely loved it. I cannot wait to see more and more of that.
I'm so happy. I have been drawn to his channel, well, his page on Instagram for, I don't know, the whole past year. I'm just like so intrigued, so mesmerized. And then finally one day I just thought, you know what? I'm going to reach out and see if he would be interested in a collab because I need somebody to craft with. I want somebody to talk about dolls with and share all the doll stuff with. And, he is already such an inspiration to me because he's a doll maker like I am. And he sculpts and does his dolls 100% handmade as I used to. So that motivates and inspires me to start getting back into that. So I'm really looking forward to it. And next week, he's going to be a guest here on the Vintage Dish. So you guys can get to know Cole as well.
That's
And
awesome.
then, yeah. And then on Saturday, I will be doing the marathon with Nate and Dakota. And my time slot is 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern with Stephanie from Crazy for Kitsch. So we will be bringing you the good vintage and handmade. And I look forward to being with you and Dakota on
Yeah.
that marathon. I'm so honored that you asked me to participate. So thank you so
Oh,
much.
absolutely.
And do you have any other sales coming up this week besides your marathon?
I do. I have one Monday with
So
Jane
tonight.
from Sacred Heart Vintage, and
Mhm.
then I have Tuesday with Allison at Skeleton Keys in the Closet.
Awesome. Allison always has the most amazing finds, so that's going to be a
And we're
lot of fun.
doing, I know we already talked, we're doing all holiday. So
Perfect.
yeah, it's going to be a mix of Christmas and Halloween and St. Patrick's Day and Valentine's Day and Easter, all that all rolled into one sale.
Wow, so much fun. All right, you guys. Well, be sure to follow Nate at My Vintage is 1976 on Instagram. The link is here in the video description, as well as the links to his first 2 episodes of his Let's Talk or Let's Chat Pyrex. So be sure to check those out. They are so informative and so much fun. And it's also fun to see all the different patterns and oh my gosh, the colors. I just love colors.
Yeah.
So be sure to show your support if you enjoyed my show today. Give me a thumbs up. That helps helps my video reach more people. And subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It would mean so much to me. And it is a way to support us as content creators. Following us is a way to support, and it is totally, absolutely 100% free. Like our content, comment on our content, all of that helps us to reach more people. So thank you so much. And Nate, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday. And it means so much to me that you took the time to meet with me today and share more about your life and your passions. So thank you so much.
I appreciate you so much, dear friend. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. And you guys have a wonderful week. It's Monday. Let's kick it off good and strong and positive. And I will see you guys on Wednesday. Take care. Bye bye.